The moment Carlos Alcaraz stepped into Paris, there was a different frequency to his presence. Measured, composed, and deliberately sharpened for the endgame of the season. The Rolex Paris Masters has often felt like a hinge in men's tennis, a closing door on the calendar, and an opening onto the psychological battleground of indoor hard courts. For Alcaraz, 22 years old and already the sport's leading light by ranking, it represents something more intimate, a test of self-mastery where his talent must be translated into precision under compressed time and tighter margins. He arrives with the resume of a generational force. 8 titles in 2025, including Roland Garros and the U.S. Open, a body of work that places him alongside the legends he grew up watching. Yet the indoor swing has stubbornly resisted coronation. In past years, fatigue and small physical alarms nibbled at his rhythm just as Europe moved under a roof. The conditions, lower bounce, truer skid, altered acoustics, punish hesitation and reward economy. Paris, in particular, has circled him like a riddle never quite solved. This time, the answer might be in the restraint. Alcaraz chose recalibration over repetition, skipping Shanghai to return home to Murcia for a reset that looked less like retreat and more like strategic architecture. The goal was freshness, but not in the vague sense of rest. Freshness built out of specifics. Stability around the hips and ankles, low center balance on first-step bursts, and endurance tuned for short, explosive exchanges rather than marathon rallies. A handful of technical nudges followed. He shortened the preparation on his backhand under lights, adjusted his return position half a stride forward to rob servers of angle, and simplified his first serve motion. Lower toss, faster rhythm, heavier emphasis on disguise. The venue itself has changed the conversation. La Défense Arena, with its vast volume and cleaner acoustics, debuts a surface that players say is a shade slower and grippier than last year. To Alcaraz, that reads like permission to build. Slower, more rallies, he noted in practice, code for point construction, not point gambling. His forehand still crackles, but there's a new moderation in when he unleashes its heaviest shape. The backhand, so often the understated half of his arsenal, has picked up authority, redirecting pace down the line without over-rotation, threading cross-court to pressure height and depth rather than simply absorbing it. Around him, the draw bristles with tests that feel like mirrors. Jannik Sinner, carrying an impeccable indoor record and the kind of early ball contact that turns neutral balls into knives. Daniil Medvedev, whose elastic defense indoors turns aggressors into overpressers. Alexander Zverev, whose serve-led tempo thrives in closed arenas. Taylor Fritz, increasingly clinical on hard courts, eager to turn first strike into scoreboard pressure. These are not just opponents, they are spreadsheets of problems to be solved at speed. What has changed most is the cadence between the points. Alcaraz has learned to ration electricity. The emotional peaks are still there, but they're cued by sequence and leverage rather than impulse. He steps to the line and treats the serve as a tactical instrument. Corner-to-body patterns, deuce side flat to the tee, add side slider out, and the occasional body serve to jam returners who lean. On return, he alternates depth screens, deep neutralizing blocks and a sudden step-in on second serves, to disrupt opponents' first pattern plans. If an exchange threatens to rush him, he answers with variety, a low skid slice to break posture, a feathered drop shot to tilt court geometry, or a compressed, flatter forehand to take air out of the rally. The training week has looked like a blueprint more than a show reel. Short court exchanges to calibrate timing under the roof, mid-court patterning to practice finishing with fewer moving parts, and serve+1 sequences drilled until they resembled reflex rather than rehearsal. His camp, anchored by Juan Carlos Ferrero, has leaned further into data, tracking spin rates and contact depths not as trivia, but as levers to pull when the match tilts into details. Visualization has joined the toolkit, simulated breakers, imagined pressure points, rehearsed escapes. Not superstition, scenario planning. Perhaps the most telling shift is linguistic. Asked about expectations, he comes back to process. Enjoying the work, trusting the feeling, letting the structure carry the stress. He's not performing invincibility, he's practicing inevitability. And in indoor tennis, Where light compresses space and sound magnifies doubt, inevitability is the most valuable illusion a champion can make real. Paris will decide how far that illusion holds. But as Alcaraz walks into the week, the difference is not volume, it's velocity of thought. The game is still fireworks. The fuse is shorter, cleaner, and lit on purpose. The week has unfolded like a laboratory, quiet, precise, and unusually patient for a player so often associated with electricity. In the first open practice, the session clocked 90 minutes and looked almost ascetic. Serve locations plotted in quadrants, forehand contact points nudged half a shoe length farther in front, backhand blocks drilled until the ball seemed to melt into the strings. The goal was the same across every station: reduce moving parts, increase repeatability. Indoors, where time shrinks, habits win. What most observers noticed was the serve +1 discipline. Alcaraz has always loved the improvisational chaos after a good delivery. Now the next ball is scripted. Do side, flat tee or kick wide, then forehand to the open lane or back behind if the returner cheats. Add side, slider away, then a firm backhand cross to pin the opponent before switching lines. It's not rigidity, it's optionality with a first answer. When the rally stretches, the old palette returns. The disguised drop, the sudden height change, the angular forehand that seems to bend around physics. But the first 3 shots are cleaner, almost metronomic. His likely Paris pathway demands that economy. Cameron Norrie or Sebastian Baez would test his patience before the crowd has even warmed to the week. 2 players who make a living out of saying, "one more ball." Against them, the trap isn't talent, it's tempo. If Alcaraz pushes too hard, they absorb and flip balance. If he underplays, they make him hit forever. The solution sits in the middle: early court position, wide first serve patterns, a higher percentage of depth through the middle to deny angles, and then the sudden switch to the corners. That pattern, deny, define, detonate, has framed most of his practice sets. Should Jiri Lehecka appear in the next round, the conversation changes from patience to posture. Lehecka attacks lines early and can make the indoor court feel narrow. Here, Alcaraz's return position tweaks matter. The step-in on second serve, the blocked, deep neutral on first. He has also rehearsed the hold-the-line defense, absorbing with a firmer, flatter backhand up the middle to take time away rather than gifting angles with a float. It's a small rebellion against instinct and exactly the kind of adjustment that turns tight indoor points. In a potential quarterfinal against Casper Ruud, spin meets spin, but the advantage goes to whoever owns the short cross exchanges. Alcaraz's forehand can bully that diagonal. Still, the discipline is to build with height before flattening through the lane. Ruud thrives on rhythm. Starve him. In a semi-final scenario with Taylor Fritz, the serve battle turns binary. Fritz is ruthlessly efficient behind first ball patterns. The antidote is a predatory return game and refusing cheap errors in the first 4 shots. Alcaraz has practiced a body-serve-heavy mix not just to score free points, but to set up forehand body blows from neutral. And then there is the shadow match, the one everyone imagines even before the draw allows it: Jannik Sinner indoors. The Italian strengths under a roof are all compression plays: early contact, minimal backswings, a refusal to give height. To meet that, Alcaraz has added 2 counters. First, he's using more heavy middle, deep, fast balls through the center third to steal time without opening the court. Second, he's mixing in the short skid slice to pull Sinner below knee height and force upswings. Neither tactic wins alone. Together they buy a handful of late forehands and a few defensive short balls. In matches of this caliber, a handful can tilt everything. There's a psychological contour to his week as well. The Paris crowd, curious, discerning, quicker to reward construction than volume, has responded to the quieter edges of his tennis. When he splits steps early and snaps a backhand up the line off a neutral ball, the sound in La Défense is a low surge rather than a roar, as if the building recognizes a solved equation. He feeds on that recognition without mistaking it for propulsion. Between points he's still. After breakers he allows a pulse. Nothing gratuitous. Emotional peaks, allocated like timeouts. Off the court, his circle has shrunk the noise. Short media windows, longer cooldowns, sleep guarded like a training block. Visualization has become ritual. 10 minutes with eyes closed before practice, 10 more after dinner. First serves at 30 all, returns on 3-3, breakers beginning at 2-3 down. It's performance rehearsal, but it's also inoculation against the what-ifs that tend to sneak in when the roof is closed and the ball echoes. If there's a single statistic they care about this week, it isn't winners or aces. It's first strike execution, the percentage of points won when he lands the serve and hits the next ball to target. Indoors, champions live there. His team has set internal thresholds for that metric, along with return depth on second serves and the ratio of forehands taken on the rise. This is how the fireworks are engineered now, not by muting the show, but by wiring it to repeat. None of this abandons the essence that made him magnetic. The drop shots still appear at the right cruelty, the cat and mouse still lives at net, and there are rallies where he sprints through 3 directions and turns defense into an exclamation. The difference is that those moments are no longer oxygen, they're punctuation. Paris seems to be teaching him that mastery indoors is not less Alcaraz, it's Alcaraz arranged. And if the arrangement holds, the arc from here to Turin and on to the team jersey in Bologna won't feel like a gauntlet. It will feel like a through line. The tournament's second half has revealed a version of Carlos Alcaraz that feels composed, surgical, and, perhaps most importantly, self-aware. Every match at the Rolex Paris Masters has carried the hum of discipline. Gone are the sprawling exchanges that once defined his youth. In their place stand sequences built on geometry and foresight. When he steps to the line now, there is less of the wild improviser and more of the architect, laying down blueprints one rally at a time. The shift isn't cosmetic. It is structural. Observers close to his team describe each day in Paris as a continuation of a controlled experiment. Morning begins with a light mobility session, followed by video breakdowns of the previous match. In the evenings, drills focus on scenario repetition, defending a heavy forehand inside the baseline, closing with a short volley, adjusting to slower service returns under LED glare. The precision is relentless, yet Alcaraz seems energized by it. His warm-up laughter still echoes through the corridors of La Défense Arena, but once he steps onto the court, that warmth turns to calculation. His performance statistics reflect that refinement. First serve percentage above 68%, breakpoint conversions near 50%, and rally lengths averaging 1 shot shorter than in 2024. In practical terms, he is cutting waste. Each point feels planned, not rehearsed, a micro-adjustment based on instinct layered over preparation. The racket speed remains violent, but the contact window is later, heavier, designed to pin rather than explode. Indoors, that distinction wins matches. What has captivated analysts is how seamlessly he adapts to context. Against baseliners like Baez, he plays vertical, drawing them forward, using the shorter skid slice. Against flat hitters such as Lehecka, he answers with height and spin, breaking rhythm. Facing servers like Fritz, he hugs the baseline, attacking early returns. It's chess, not chase. Even his footwork has evolved. Fewer frantic slides, more compact resets, a quiet economy of motion that betrays deep confidence. And still, between these technical layers, the charisma remains. Each time Alcaraz finishes a set, he glances toward his box. Ferrero nods, the team claps once, and that single gesture says everything. They know the plan is working. Ferrero's influence is evident in the restraint. No over-celebration, no wasted adrenaline. Play heavy, think light, his coach told him earlier in the week, a phrase that has become almost mantra. The Spaniard repeats it under his breath during changeovers, audible only to microphones pressed near the towel box. The mental side of his campaign has grown equally deliberate. He journals short notes after every match, 2 sentences, one on execution, one on emotion. Good patience in long rallies. Trusted serve at 30 all. It's not analysis, it's imprinting. The act helps him internalize control, ensuring the next match begins without leftover noise. Those who know him privately speak of an athlete less obsessed with perfection and more fascinated by refinement. "He's treating the season like a thesis," one member of his team joked. Paris is the chapter on precision. As the tournament nears its climax, anticipation builds for another possible confrontation with Jannik Sinner. Their rivalry has become the gravitational center of modern tennis. Contrast in personality, mirror in ambition. Sinner's calm minimalism meets Alcaraz's vibrant elasticity, a stylistic yin and yang shaping the sport's future. Under the roof of La Défense, that collision would be amplified by acoustics that magnify every breath. Yet, even if the match never materializes, its possibility fuels the atmosphere. Both know the other is watching. For Alcaraz, Paris is not just a gateway to Turin. It's a rehearsal for endurance under artificial light. The indoor swing has historically humbled him, exposing moments of impatience or overreach. Now, each match reads like an argument against that history. He moves with contained aggression, celebrates selectively, and finishes sessions without visible fatigue. The word that floats through conversations among players and coaches is balance. He seems to have found it. When reporters ask whether he feels pressure to win here, he smiles slightly. "Pressure?" he repeats. "It's what tells me I'm in the right place." That line captures the essence of the transformation. The nerves that once spiked his performance now anchor it. He has reframed expectation as evidence of belonging. For a 22-year-old leading the sport's next generation, that awareness may prove more valuable than any tactical tweak. As lights dim for the evening matches, the crowd's reflections shimmer on the arena's metallic walls. Alcaraz walks through the tunnel, headphones off, eyes steady. Each step echoes in rhythm, thud, breath, thud, like punctuation at the end of a long paragraph. He enters the court not chasing another chapter, but finishing one. Whether he lifts the trophy or not, Paris has already offered him the proof he sought, that his evolution is tangible, his control repeatable, and his identity intact. The season will soon carry him to Turin and Bologna, but whatever happens there will trace back to these nights in the City of Light. Under the roof of La Défense, Carlos Alcaraz has done more than prepare for competition. He has rewritten his own late-season script, from fatigue to freshness, from talent to mastery. And as he leaves the court bathed in white spotlight, one truth rings through the arena's echoing rafters. This is not the promise of a champion. It is the confirmation of one.